Hola, 'tis I, Alicia. How are you? I hope you're doing good. I thought today, this is a story that has, ever since I heard the story, I was obsessed with it because it involves ghosts. So, and I have a new deck, still trying to get it to bend my way. Ha ha ha. Boom. Okay, this is the story of the ghost of Flight 401. So, if you don't know the story, I have my little notes. Let me read them to you. So, December 29th, 1972, Eastern Flight 401 from New York to Miami took off at 9:20 p.m. There was 176 people on board in a Lockheed L1011. At 11:30 p.m., the plane was starting to descend towards Miami International Airport. At 11:42, just 12 minutes later, the plane went down in the Everglades at 225 miles per hour. Now, there's a movie about this. I think it has Ernest Borgnine in it. I think. Anyway, it's for being back in the day when they made this movie. I enjoyed it. Just saying. Captain Bob Loft and his second officer, Don Repo, they both passed. So later on, they recover this plane out of the Everglades, and all the passengers, I believe, they passed as well. I don't have that information here, though. Interesting. I think there were survivors, but I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up, or if you know, tell me in the comments below. Here's the interesting part. So they're recovering the plane from the Everglades, and parts of that plane were salvaged and used in other Lockheed L1011s. And also, they were put mostly on aircraft 318, and then the ghost sightings of Bob Loft and Don Repo started showing up. So people started seeing the captain and the second officer on planes, like planes that are actually flying. So, the first one I have here is Don Repo appeared to a flight attendant, an engineer, in the glass of an oven door. Repo's ghost was mouthing something not heard, but he looked worried. So the flight attendant then calls the engineer in, and they both see his ghost, again, in the oven door, and they heard, "Beware, beware, fire within the jet." Later on, an engine backfired and failed, but was shut down before it caught on fire. At least 20 sightings of Loft and Repo were seen on the planes that were using those salvaged parts from the Flight 401. On one flight, allegedly, Don Repo said, "There will never be another crash on an L1011. We won't let it happen." The airline, Eastern Airlines, they did not acknowledge the ghost sightings at all to the public. They did take reports that I had read. They took reports internally from employees saying we're seeing their ghost all over, but they didn't investigate it, and it was kind of like, no, that didn't happen. Which is always like, to me, there's like, those haunted hotels where they're like, yeah, it's a haunted hotel. And then they're like, oh no, we're not haunted anymore. We're not talking about that anymore because they think they're going to scare away people. But I'm like, hello, people want to go to haunted places. I am, for one, a person who loves to look for haunted places. You know me, I stay on the Queen Mary, going to all sorts of other places. I've stayed in the Hotel Del, not in the room at the Del that was haunted, but, I am up for staying at a haunted place. So, it's a thing that gets people in the door. In case you are a person with a place that's haunted, market that. Okay. So at some point, all the salvage parts were removed from the various airplanes, and Loft and Repo were never seen on the planes again. Their mission, I guess, was done. And that's what I kind of want to look into. I mean, can you imagine? There was, I think, a story of a lady sitting in the cabin, and she looked over and she saw the captain Loft just there, and then she was talking to him and he didn't talk back to her or something, and then he disappeared. I mean, that would have to be crazy. That is kind of crazy. Imagine you just happen to have an open seat next to you, And there is a guy, and the next moment he's gone. He didn't have to like jump over you. I wonder if they had more legroom back then. I don't know. Probably. Anyhow, so let's look into the ghost of Flight 401. All right, I'm using the Boo Tarot. It's super cute, but as you can see, it keeps going back into this curve that makes it kind of difficult to shuffle. So anyway, first question. Did Loft and Repo fly on all those L1011 flights with the salvaged parts? Were they flying on all those flights trying to keep them safe from experiencing what Loft and Repo had with their flight? So did they fly on these planes with the salvaged parts? Interesting. There might have also been a flight, I think, too, where they said, like, one of the pilots was like, he just refused to fly the plane because I think he saw, maybe it was Loft going around and doing a pre-flight check. So, wow. So, yes. So interesting. Ooh, I got chills. So interesting. Okay, so it's almost as if, yes, the pilots were doing, I guess, pre-flight checks because they were looking to see if there was going to be any unexpected issues, things that people would have missed. So it's almost like whichever planes they would go and they would do a pre-flight check to make sure there was not any unforeseen issues that could have popped up in the plane, and seeing if they needed to be aboard, as we'll say. So yes, and it's almost as if, this is so cute, that they like work together. I mean, they were like partners for a little while in the afterlife, like they were flying planes together. It was like they're here together, yes, to make sure that the planes were safe. So we have the Chariot here, and underneath it, it's the Tower. They wanted to make sure that the planes were moving forward, that the planes did not have the same issues, that the planes safely got to their destinations without having that horrible moment where theirs went down. Interesting here as well. They started to catch on later on in their ghosty times. They started to catch on later on about that they could be freaking people out showing up as the ghosties. And so I think they were showing up at first all the time to people, like easily seen, like they were manifesting, people were seeing them. And then when it started freaking too many people out, made a decision, we're only going to show up unless we need to warn people, because we didn't take into account that people are going to realize that we're not on this side anymore, and people are going to flip out, and it's going to be scary. And again, it's them making sure everything is safe. That was their main mission, that they wanted to make sure that everyone was safe and wasn't behind the 8-ball and flying a plane that they wouldn't be able to control or get it safely to its next destination. So maybe that one plane, I'll have to look into it. Maybe that one plane where that guy canceled the flight, maybe there was something major wrong with it. Okay. Interesting. So this, let's ask, I think that's the same one. Was Bob Loft seen doing... Yeah, okay, so is Bob Loft was doing the pre-flight checks where, I believe that was the flight that got canceled. So maybe another pilot saw that and was like, excuse me. Time for a little crystal chit-chat. I couldn't think of a better stone than rose quartz for this reading. This is the stone of love and emotional healing and uniting with the divine. So rose quartz is a pure stone of love for oneself, for one's partner, children, family, friends, community, the people flying on your planes, and the earth, the universe, and the divine. So meditating with rose quartz brings an envelope of love around yourself, and it activates your heart chakra. And I think we can all agree once we finish this reading that Bob Loft and Don Repo had a fully activated heart chakra in what they were doing on the other side to help keep people safe. So if you want your own rose quartz heart, then come and get you one over at AlyciaWicker.com. So was Bob Loft, was he seen, and that's why the flight got canceled? Was there something wrong with that plane? That's more important to me. Was there something wrong with that plane that's why Bob Loft allowed himself to be seen, and therefore flipped out the pilot, and he said, let's cancel this flight? Okay, so he interesting. He made himself show on purpose. Like, he made sure to interact during that pre-flight check. He made sure to interact and be seen. We have 7 of Swords. Oh, sneaky snacker. We've got to pay our tax. Best sneaky snacker card of all time so far. I mean, how cute. He did it on purpose, even though he knew he would be like scaring the guy. He did it on purpose. He had been, again, interesting. He knew that there was something wrong. Like, he somehow had the ability to foresee the plane moving on its way to its destination, and he could see that there was going to be problems to be experienced, and he was concerned that they would not be able to handle the problems on that flight. Yeah, so he made sure that he was visible on purpose, even though it probably scared the guy, because he was there. He had this important message. He cared so much. He had the important message that he wanted to send there and make sure that he was protecting everybody that was on board and would be on that plane. Aw, such nice pilots. You ever hear those stories where there was these crazy pilots on it? Which reminds me, we haven't heard about that China plane that went down. I don't think the reports come out. If you've seen it, let me know. But I did that reading on that China flight that I said was definitely not malfunctioning parts. But I don't think we've seen that report, which is odd. I thought it would have come out by now. Okay. I'm curious, did Don or Bob, Don Repo, Bob Loft, did they ever have a premonition that the plane could have gone down? Let's see. Let's do, let's split them up, because I think one might be actually more intuitive than the other. So let's do Bob Loft, Don Repo. Did any of them, either of them, have premonitions of the plane going down? No. Well, for Bob Loft, no. He's going onto this flight, and he's just like any other day, right? I'm just getting ready to go fly my plane, no problemo. If there's any problem, I'll be able to handle it. I'm an experienced pilot. I'll be able to handle it. I have everything under control. I can figure out how to make something work. Like, worst case scenario, I'll figure out how to make something work. And it's just, I was happy to go flying. Just happy to go flying. Okay, Don Repo. Oh my. Don Repo, that's okay. So Don Repo is the psychic one. Or he had the premonition, but I think he actually might have been psychic a little bit here. Don Repo had a premonition of something was not going to be good. He was trying to figure out ahead of time if there was a way. Like, it's almost as if he's asking in his dreams to be shown something so he can prepare or know, be forewarned. And he had an idea that there was this, whatever the issue was going to be something that kind of hard, something that they didn't expect, something they haven't come up against in training, something that could be possibly out of their control. Now, of course, he thought, well, I know we're all good pilots and we all can come up with these creative ideas to figure this out. But he was kind of going into this like, I think there's going to be this weird surprise issue that we're not expecting. And it's almost like wish for the best, but he's preparing for the worst. Interesting. So they say that no other L-1011s crashed ever. And then finally all the planes are, and their parts, all of it taken out of service. So that's when they retired. I'm curious if they've come back as pilots, if they've reincarnated. That would be interesting. So let's see. Bob Loft on Repo, have you reincarnated? Bob Loft, no, he's not reincarnated. He's got some other things he's working on. He's not ready to come back. He's working on his own issues, whatever those may be. He's working on his own issues. So Bob Loft has not reincarnated yet. Don Repo. Oh. Wow, I think that's funny. Now this is the devil card. But in this deck, it's like it's not as scary as it could look in some other decks. These cards, the reason I got them is on some of these little ghosties, there's like a little bit of hologram. You can see a little bit. It's not on all the cards, which I don't know why, but I think Don Repo enjoyed the physical pleasures of Earth. More so like the food and the wine, drink, chocolates, that kind of thing. So I think he was looking to see like how quick he could get back here. And he definitely wanted to come back. And maybe if this is like, there's his wife, not that he could reincarnate again as her husband in this lifetime, but he wants to be on the earth plane with her at the same time. There's something about that, perhaps just reincarnating in that same soul family, to be around her. He like loved her. But yeah, he was like, oh yeah, I'm totally coming back. I'm ready. And I enjoy the finer things in life. And so of course I love being here on the earth plane and I want to be back here. Interesting. All right, I'm curious. Did the airlines, so the airlines never admitted that they had any issues with ghost sightings. Internally, behind the scenes, what were the airlines thinking about all these ghosty reports? You know, they're like, oh, we got another 12 reports here. What do we do? Do we investigate them? Nah, it's just a bunch of bullshit, Joe. Let's just file them in the round file. You know, the trash. So what did the airlines think about all of these ghostly reports? It's like they took them with a grain of salt. I'm going to say even some of the executives were visited who perhaps, you know, they're just in the offices behind the scenes running the airlines. There were some people behind the scenes that took these reports seriously, whether they acknowledged it or not. There's others who are just like, meh, but they did investigate. So it was like, all right, we'll go investigate a little bit. Nothing blatant. Like, we would only investigate if there was something reported with a part that we could go just check and make it seem like we were doing routine checks, so we're not calling attention to it. And also because they were very well aware of Flight 401 and what happened to it. And so, in a way, that's in their best interest, and that's why they would go check out these reports, but they would do it like on the down low. They don't want to draw attention. They don't want to be like, well, you know, the ghost of Don Repo was over here and he said to come check out this plane. They're not going to do that at all. They were taking it somewhat serious. Some people were. Because they didn't want another catastrophe. Oh, excuse me, on their hands. So it's almost as if even if they didn't believe in the ghostly reports, they took it seriously. There was enough there that they took it seriously. Interesting. I'm curious. When did okay, so when all the planes go out of service, does Don Repo and Bob Loft, are they like, okay, we're done? Like, oh, they've retired the last of them, or the parts are gone from flying in the skies. Did they just like, what happened to them? Did they just go to the light, go to the other side, and get to work right away? Were they going to check out other planes that they thought maybe like, hey, there's my friend Bill. He's got a faulty plane this week. Let's go bother him. Were they like continuing for a little while, or did they just say that was our mission and we're just going to go on through to the other side? That was their mission and they just were done. So they weren't going to help Bill on his plane. It was just their mission to work together to keep these planes flying in the sky safe. And then they went on through the other side and, I don't know, went through processing or whatever happens over there. They were happy with what they were doing. They felt like it was mission accomplished. And they were happy for the opportunity they had to keep everybody safe. So, what a nice little ghosty story. I I like that story. If you have a ghosty story we can look into, let me know in the comments down below. But wow, that was like more heartwarming than I thought it would be. Oh, anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't yet, join me in the Moon Moth Manor. Come to my website. You can find out more. And if you haven't given this video a like, please do. And I will see you next time. Adios.